What's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about a journey, a financial journey, about how to go from minimum wage to six figures. And I'm going to run you through my actual story, where I started, every pivot, every failure, everything that didn't work, and how it all eventually adds up to something. And by the end of this video, I'll leave you with some facts and some things that I've learned throughout the journey. So it started at 15 years old at a grocery store. I was making $15 an hour. And I was the first person in my friend group to actually get a job. One by one, my friends followed. We all ended up working at the same place. And without knowing it, I had learned something that would show up over and over again in my life. That the people around you follow the standard you set. Not always, but more often than you think. And the thing about this time is that work wasn't even my main focus. Basketball was. From October through March, I had practice every day after school. AAU tournaments took up every weekend from the spring through summer. And I was doing 3-a-days at one point. Morning gym session, team practice after school, and then another solo gym session at night to get shots up. And this wasn't because somebody made me do it. It's because I loved it and I was good at it. And I wanted to see how far it could take me. And I tell you that because I think it matters for the rest of the story. The discipline of being an athlete, showing up when you don't feel like it, believing in a process before you can see the result, that doesn't disappear when the athletics ends. It just finds new places to live. And then fast forward to when I was 17, I got into the restaurant business and I started dishwashing with 2 other of my friends. And I was making like $16.50 an hour. But again, I still had to do AAU on the weekends, practice after school, and practices during the summer. So I didn't really get a lot of time. It was all part-time, but I still made it work. My life was constantly moving. I never stopped. But then my senior year, I took a hiatus. I didn't work, and I strictly focused on basketball and ending the school year with a good GPA. And I did this because I was being recruited. I had some D2 offers and a lot of D3 interest. I took the grants from a D3 in-state school, and that summer before college, I started waiting tables at a restaurant, making $7.65 an hour. And the tips, all of it added up to about $18 an hour. So that first part of my life wasn't really about investing or anything. I didn't know anything about investing. I didn't know anything about money, but I just found ways to make money. And then the first year of college, I was a health science major, D3 basketball, no job. I really couldn't have one. Between school and sports, there was nothing left in the day. So I made school the priority, kept my GPA up, did what I was supposed to. And then after my first year, I quit basketball. I fell out of love with the game. That's the simplest way to put it. It was something that I had given everything to since I was a kid. The early mornings, the late nights, the identity. It just stopped feeling like mine. And I made the hardest decision I had made up to that point and walked away. Most people in my life didn't understand it. Some still don't. But here's what I know that I did not fully understand then. Staying in something that no longer fits you out of fear of what other people will think is one of the most expensive decisions a person can make. Not just financially, but in every way. Quitting basketball gave me something I didn't expect. Time. And for the first time in my life, I had to sit with the question of what I actually wanted. Not what I was built around, not what defined me since I was a kid, but what I actually wanted to build next. And I decided on physical therapy. It made sense on paper. I was a health science major, athletic background, understood the body, and I eventually got a job as a personal care assistant, making $19 an hour at 19 years old, going to clients' homes, helping with exercises, basic care, and I did that for 3 years through the rest of college. I graduated with a health science degree and then got a job at a county hospital as a rehab aide, making $22 an hour. And this was an hour commute each way, trying to make connections and work toward PT school. Then 9 months later, I quit. Not because I failed, because I paid attention. The commute wasn't killing me, the environment was draining, and when I got honest with myself about what I was actually experiencing every day, I realized PT, physical therapy, was not what I thought it was. And staying in something that is not right because it looks stable is exactly the kind of decision that costs people years of their life. My parents thought I was crazy because I left a stable job with good benefits, and I ended up going to work at a hardware store for $19 an hour while I figured out my next move. And this was the best decision I made. For the next 6 months at this job, I didn't look at it like a step backwards. I looked at it like it was a runway, and I used that time to figure out what I actually wanted and then go after it with the same intensity I used to give to basketball. I always loved technology, building things, figuring out how things work, so I pursued IT, got my CompTIA A+ certification, and the place I was actually working at offered courses that helped me, and I built my own computer from scratch. And that's still the one that I use to this day. And at 23, I started applying to every entry-level IT position I could find. And I eventually landed one at $20 an hour. Remote work, third-party IT support, helping companies with basic technical issues, passwords, Outlook, the unglamorous foundation of how technology actually keeps businesses running. But I quickly came to realize I burnt out quick. And eventually I quit that job and moved to a more specialized role with another IT company at $23 an hour, which was also remote work. But this one worked primarily with hospitals. And this is where something interesting happened, because my health science degree, my hospital experience, made me immediately more valuable than someone with the same IT skills, but no medical background, because I actually knew what was going on in these hospitals, the software they used. I've used it. And the combination of the two things that seemed unrelated started paying off in a way that I had not planned. But again, this was another call center role, so I burned out quick. And with this job, I absolutely hated it. It was a remote work with a team I had never met in person. No sense of culture, no sense of belonging. I don't even think I've ever seen any of their faces. Just me and a screen and tickets to close. And then two things while I was working here happened that changed everything. The first, I had been investing my paychecks into crypto, and I turned $800 into $20,000 in a matter of 2 months, which gave me a financial cushion I had never had before. Then the second thing, and I left this out for a reason, but back in 2021, when I was in college and had just quit basketball, and I had all this time on my hands, I posted a TikTok. And it got 17 million views. I kept posting, built an account to 75,000 followers with over 40 million combined views. And that was over the span of like 3 or 4 years. And eventually I turned it into a business, selling merch, offering social media marketing services to local companies. And then I ended up quitting this next job with no backup plan, just my business. And I was making about $2,000 a month, but I was working harder than I ever had. And I could not figure out how to scale it without adding people that I couldn't afford. So I had to stop, and I was back at what felt like square one again. Now here's a part of the story that I didn't understand while I was living it, and it only makes sense looking back now. Every single thing I had done, the grocery store, the restaurant, the basketball discipline, the health science degree, the hospital, the IT certifications, it was all building a specific set of skills that individually looked scattered and collectively looked like exactly the right profile for a job I didn't even know existed yet. I updated my resume, started applying to medical device companies, and eventually, through persistence and through sheer luck, I landed a tech sales support role for a Fortune 500 medical device company, making $70,000 a year. And through all that, the first thing that I learned is that skills compound the same way money does. Every job I took taught me something that made the next opportunity slightly more accessible. The IT skills made the medical device role possible. The business experience made me a better salesperson. And you don't always see the compounding while it's happening, but it's always happening. The second thing I learned is that burning out is information, not failure. Every time I left a job, it felt like a setback. But in retrospect, every exit was a recalibration, a signal that something was not right and that staying would have cost me more than leaving. So learning to distinguish between quitting because something is hard and leaving because something genuinely doesn't fit is a skill worth more than any certification. And the third thing, your background is more valuable than you think, especially when it's unusual. The person with a health science degree and IT skills and sales experience and a social media following is genuinely rare, not because any of these things are exceptional, but because the combination is. The path that looks scattered on the surface often looks qualified from the right angle. The fourth thing is that the stability is not safety. The hospital job had great benefits, it was stable, but a stable job that is costing you your well-being, your growth, and your sense of direction is not safe. It's just a slower way of being stuck. And the fifth thing, luck is a skill and you need to master it. It finds the people who are moving and who are constantly looking for the right opportunity. I'm where I'm at today because of luck, but because I kept moving, kept building, kept applying, kept learning, and eventually the right opportunity found me at the exact moment I needed it and when I had enough to offer. So your path is not going to look like mine, obviously. But if there's one thing I want you to take from the story, it's that the skills you are building right now, even in the job you are at just trying to get through, even in the role that does not feel like matters, are accumulating towards something you cannot fully see yet. So keep building, keep moving, and the path will make sense looking back. You just have to trust it going forward. But drop in the comments where you are right now on your own path, the job you're in, what you're working towards, or even just what you're trying to figure out. You might help somebody that's watching this that hasn't commented yet. Could be very valuable. I think we can learn a lot from each other. So I appreciate y'all for watching. Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.